All right, and we are live. Hello, I am Piper Report. I'm with Holly Seeliger again. This is our third chat. This one's kind of informal, not really an interview like we did in the past, but we're just gonna talk about bull crap for a little bit. So, hello, Holly, again.
Hey, do we have anyone on our live chat yet?
We have one, Texan.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, I posted the feed on my Twitter. I don't know if you have the link, if you want to tweet it on yours as well.
Yeah, let's see. It'd be cool if we had an audience. Let's see.
Hello, Tex.
So we are live. Tweeting that out. Let's do this, people.
Oh yeah.
So how's the weather where you're at there, Piper?
It's actually been pretty hot, and it really should start cooling down. Like usually north of here, come winter time, it's like -30 with the wind chill and everything. So
whoa.
Yeah, but it's been pretty hot last couple days actually. I took a couple cats home that I found, 2 kittens that were stray. But I'm giving them to my parents. But yeah, so I have 2 kittens in my bedroom right now, and they're hogging up my pillow.
Is it past their bedtime?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're out. One of them's really scared of me though. She's hiding under my bed. She won't follow me.
So your parents are gonna take them?
Yeah, they have another cat, so all the 3 cats can party together.
Are they cool with that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I told them that'd be kind of bad. Like, oh, by the way, you guys, I'm giving you 2 cats, so just so you know.
Yeah, hope you guys are cool with that. You don't want them?
No, I'm gone all the time. I feel bad leaving them alone.
Yeah.
If you want, I could send them to you, but your birds might not like that.
You can send them in the mail. Is that illegal?
Yeah.
Can you send cats in the mail?
No, I don't think so. Maybe a UPS then, but I don't think they like that either.
Ship them overnight. No. They're cute though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, they're little babies. They fit like in palm of my hand, so.
You just found them someplace, or did someone give them to you?
They're actually the place I work. They've been sitting there just walking around, so I catnapped them.
That is funny.
All right, well, we got a couple people here, so
nice. All right, cool.
Take it away, Holly. Tell us some stories.
So we can talk about some real stuff now here. So I found this article on Zero Hedge, and it's called "Why is Google Hiring 1,000 Journalists to Flood Newsrooms Around America?" So Google News Lab is now launching something. They're calling it Report for America, and they're hiring 1,000 journalists all around the country. So the Google News Lab says that because many local newsrooms have been cut to the bone, so they have announced the Google News Lab Summit to hire 1,000 journalists in local newsrooms over the next 5 years. Report for America takes ideas from several existing organizations, including the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, Teach for America, and Public Media. So RFA isn't getting any public funding. It's completely funded by Google, and they're calling it a national service project. So what could possibly go wrong? You know, right. Google hiring people locally, putting them into your local newspapers and doing some reporting.
I'm kind of curious if these reports that they're hiring, if they're going to be synonymous with what Google's doing in terms of censorship. So if they hear any type of political discourse that they disagree with, they'll just censor them and hide them for everyone on YouTube is unable to see them. I hope these journalists actually have some integrity, but I kind of doubt it.
I think it's interesting that they're saying it's a similar sort of setup as like Teach for America or AmeriCorps. Like I did AmeriCorps for a year out of college, and I think it was like $5,000 spread out over the whole year. So it equaled out to like less than $5 an hour that I was working. And so it's basically like slave wages, and it's a private corporation. I found that out too. So basically they're just going to hire like new journalists and give them like a stipend for a year to write on whatever Google wants them to write. Like, I don't even know, do they have journalistic freedom, or are they just going to write fluff pieces, or what?
Well, as we've seen from, I forgot the guy's name, but he worked for Google actually, and he was fired for releasing the document that basically showed Google had a political bias. I know Stefan Molyneux had him on his channel, but in my mind, I think that if any of these journalists actually try to report in an unbiased manner, it wouldn't surprise me if Google just fires them and tries to hide them, because Google's all about censorship now. It appears to me anyways.
Right, isn't it? Yeah, like the guy was fired for like criticizing diversity like measures or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
what is that called? When they do like the college hiring acceptance process and stuff like that. I don't know.
Affirmative action?
Affirmative action, yeah. I think he was criticizing affirmative action within like the tech industry. And I think that's why Google was like, no, you're out of here. I think that's what it was.
You know, it's funny. I'm actually going to be doing a video monologue soon, next couple days. And in it, I'm going to talk about the Emmys. I forgot who it was. I think he was a black actor, where he said basically, I want to thank Trump for being the president to make Black America like the most oppressed or something like that. It's like, are you seriously thinking that? Like, Black employment actually received 700,000 jobs since Trump took office. Now, that's not saying Trump actually created those jobs, but either way, they are not devolving into an oppressed ethnicity. I mean, they're doing better now than they ever were before. It's just more political spin and rhetoric that's only going to increase hostility between one another.
Yeah, I was seeing it was Donald Glover was the guy. He like won an Emmy for like his writing or something, and yeah, he was the one who said that, you know, Trump was, you know, responsible for all the problems or something like that. You said the quote correctly, and it was hosted by Stephen Colbert, and it was just like, people said it was like 3 hours of like mean insults like the whole time. Like,
you know, Colbert actually, back in the day when Jon Stewart was still running the Daily Show, Colbert actually wasn't bad. He actually made jokes at, you know, Republicans and Fox News, but also the Democrats. Now, if you turn on like late night comedian shows like Jimmy Fallon or Colbert, all you hear is just one specific narrative pinpointing Donald Trump as the devil, and we have to basically overthrow him because he is not a legitimate president, and he's just all, you know, all this stuff. And it's like, when did late night comedy become a political show, a political bias show that has to preach their own ideology onto others?
yeah, I mean, you're right about Colbert. Like, he used to be like this fake conservative or something. Like, he actually used to be like, have like a comedic edge to him. And now he's just like straight up propagandist. And it's like, I'm like, are you trying to be funny? Are you trying to be like a, you know, a farce or something? But I don't think he is. Like, I think he's like straight up telling people what to think now. Like, he lost the comedic edge.
See, I have like, I have no problem with people like late night comedians making jokes on Donald Trump, but if you're gonna, you know, joke about Donald Trump all the time, try to maybe joke about Obama or something like that. You know, like, it's only directed at Trump. Make jokes about everyone. If you're gonna, you know, make fun of people, do it for everyone. Don't just pinpoint one particular person, because this is kind of funny. This is actually what they don't realize, and the media is complicit in this as well. The more they try to attack Donald Trump and the more they denigrate Donald Trump and laugh at him, the more people become pissed off of hearing the same thing every single day. And the more their ratings are going to drop and the more support Donald Trump will get. So in essence, they are essentially feeding Donald Trump's base by doing nothing but reporting negatively on him, and they don't see it. Like, people like Ben Shapiro told him about this. Like, you know what you're doing right now, Trump wants you to do. Like, talking about him 24/7 is making people get annoyed of you and start following Trump more.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, even if you don't like Trump, like 3 hours of like Trump insults, like could you imagine like if they did that to like Obama, or I bring up about George W. Bush, like yeah, they would kind of joke about how he's a moron and he would use words wrong, and I mean he would make an ass of himself.
Yeah,
Like
he did say some moronic things, yeah.
But even then it wasn't like that cruel. Like the jokes people would say, like it was never really mean spirited or constant the way that they are about Trump, It's, I mean, they would joke about Bush, but then they'd be like, now, like, we can make fun of his pronunciation or nuclear, but we couldn't actually question what was actually going on at the same time.
Like, the way I look at it too is like with Bush, they were actually making jokes about him kind of in fun. With Trump, they seriously hate Trump. So like their jokes on Trump are more malicious in their intent than Bush. It's kind of funny now, like the mainstream media, the corporate media, they actually like compliment Bush now because Bush was so different than Trump. And it's just like, like their hypocrisy is just overwhelming.
Yeah, there's like these photos where like Michelle's like hugging W and they're just like, oh,
good buddies. And
yeah. And and then they just act like he wasn't that bad. And like when John McCain, like people used to call him a warmonger, we're like, oh, don't criticize him, he's got brain
He's a
cancer.
hero. He's a hero. And
I'm like, what? I'm like, no one, the only thing you can criticize in Hollywood right now is Trump,
Did you see, I actually just uploaded, it's a news clip of Lawrence O'Donnell essentially freaking out on his staff. Did you see that video?
No.
I watched a little bit of it, but he just goes off on them. I always thought Lawrence O'Donnell was the most biased news pundit. I mean, there's a lot of them. Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, but Lawrence O'Donnell always has that smug look on his face. I'm not a violent person, but he has such a punchable face, and it's kind of funny to see him lose his cool finally, because I think he's a joke, and it's funny that now people are actually seeing him for who he really is.
What office does he serve? I'm sorry, I'm ignorant.
He's a media pundit for MSNBC.
Oh, okay.
The last word.
So it's like it's hard for me to keep up on all these fools.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm probably gonna have to get rid of my cable. I don't know.
I'm so sorry for you.
I transferred cable to my new apartment here, and I really don't watch it that much. I'm more on my internet over anything.
Yeah. How's your new place? You like it?
Yeah, it ain't bad. I noticed one thing though. I do not like not having central air. I have like a portable AC, and it's loud. My condo, I have central air. You can't hear it. Like I love my condo, but what can you do?
You've got that big white screen in the background. You could do like green screen or something at some point. Like who knows? Like you could have like your own. You could have like clips up there in the corner or something. Who knows?
That's what I plan on doing. Yeah, I get a nice green screen here. And someone told me once, like with a green screen, like a $20 app, you can basically work miracles. So
yeah, it'll be cool to see what you do.
All right, well, bring on the next article for us.
All right. Yeah, so we got let's see. This is all stuff I was going to be reporting on my channel, Zoon Politikon. So I might bring up a lot of these as well. There's interesting information about FOIA requests, people who are trying to issue FOIAs, and this is according to activist posts. The U.S. government suing people for requesting public records. So the U.S. government suing citizens requesting public records all over the country, and this is like a new thing that's been going on. So FOIA means Freedom of Information Act. The government stating that it is in, quote, good faith to take away more of our rights, intimidate and delay FOIA requests, challenging the notion of transparency. So a growing number of organizations, school districts, municipalities, and state agencies have filed lawsuits against citizens for making FOIA requests to obtain public information. The governmental bodies argue that they're doing so to let the court decide a matter that isn't quite clearly legally, such as the documents may be shielded by an exemption or privacy laws. So if you know anything about journalism, the FOIA request is really the only way you can get information out of people or out of corporations or entities is to go through the FOIA request. It's a formal process. So instead, people like journalists who have used this FOIA request for decades now, they're just, people are turning around and successfully suing people to keep this information private. So there's a legislation has been put in. The Michigan State House voted overwhelmingly 108-0 in favor of a bill that would make it illegal for government agencies to sue citizens who request public records. So slowly, states like Michigan and other states are trying to get rid of this sort of loophole that agencies have put forward. So the bill's sponsor, Republican Representative Clint Kesto, called the lawsuit a backdoor channel to delay and put pressure on the requester that circumvents the state's Freedom of Information Act. So he says, quote, "The government shouldn't file a lawsuit and go on offense, either approve the request or deny it." So I think it's great that locally, you know, state by state, people are trying to overturn this, but it's becoming a huge problem. And this might be one of the reasons why we're not seeing any sort of journalistic integrity right now.
You know, with that too, I mean, what better way to completely delineate how statist our government is becoming than by denying the people who actually is supposed to own the government the right of transparency? It's, I mean, I know I don't want to turn this really political, but Obama, he has the record for the most freedom of FOIA denials. He set the record for the most president for the most denials. And I hate to say it, but it seems like now that we see that Obama was able to do it, I think more and more government officials are going to go this way. But that article, it's a good thing to see that the states are actually standing up against that, because I mean, we need government transparency. We have to have government transparency, because those who think that the government would never do anything nefarious or at all, that they're saints, are just delusional. I mean, our government has done evil things in the past, and they will do evil things in the future. The people have to be there to be able to make sure that they do not violate our rights and liberties, like what happened with Eric Snowden releasing documents showing the government was doing just that.
Yeah, that's a great point. You're exactly right. So I think, you know, if the FOIA request, you know, it takes a long time. It's not easy. It's a formal process, but it's the way that journalists have to go about getting information from agencies, from representatives, from governments, corporations. And so you can't just go around and sue saying, no, I want to keep this private. I mean, this is America, and we need freedom of the press. I mean, that's basically violating the amendments and the Bill of Rights. Like, we need freedom of the press, and to deny FOIA requests, then, you know, that's blatantly going against that.
So in your capacity doing what you do, have you ever filed a FOIA request?
I haven't. I've had FOIA requests filed against me, and that was
really?
kind of scary. So it had to do with, some people were wondering if so for the audience, I serve on a local school board, and people were wondering if we were having like backdoor conversations about the budget before we put forward the budget. And yes, if you have three members of 3 elected officials meeting, you have to have it has to be a public meeting. You can't have 3 people meet in private to discuss anything. That's illegal. You can get in big trouble for that. You can get sued for having, like, they call it a back closed door meeting. So 3 members. So they did a FOIA request on us to figure out if we were having private conversations. So when they do FOIA, they could take my cell phone, they could take my computer, they could check all my email. And luckily, I wasn't doing anything bad, so I didn't have anything to worry about, even though I didn't know at the time when I got elected into office that, yes, they could technically seize my cell phone under a FOIA. So that's kind of scary. They're supposed to only look at stuff that pertains to my public official duties, but who knows?
That's why I think too, like Hillary Clinton, that's why she didn't want to use a government email, because she knew that if she did, she would have to follow the FOIA request regulations and stipulations. Like, what better way to be exposed for your criminal acts and your illicit activity than by having the people request, the information about what you are discussing. And with her, people would definitely want to see who she is conversing with and what she is doing. So I mean, she played dumb, like she had no idea what she did was illegal, but she knew perfectly well. And a big reason with that, in my opinion, was to prohibit herself or to hide herself from following regulations, the FOIA request regulations.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, I didn't really understand what was going on with Hillary and her emails until like my school board got FOIA'd like last fall. And then I was like, oh, wait, okay, that's what she was trying to do. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, she was dumb and didn't really know, about having a server in her house and like how that stuff can be easily hacked or leaked, or the stuff can be siphoned easily. And the BlackBerry that she was probably using from the Owan brothers, like, I could go on about all that, like all these Congress members think that they're being tricky by using a different email, but they really don't know anything about technology.
There's new information coming out now that the UN ambassador under Obama, Samantha Powers, she actually in 2016 made over 260 requests to unmask people associated with the Trump campaign. I mean, if that doesn't really allude people to the notion that the Obama administration or those who work for him didn't have a grudge against Trump. I mean, if they don't believe that's the truth, Obama, in my mind, he hated Trump just like the mainstream media does and things of that nature. And Samantha Powers, I think, perfectly delineates the type of mentality they had that, let's try to spy on a presidential candidate just because we don't like him, and maybe we might be able to dig something up on him that would disqualify him.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it made me mad, like when, like Trump, he is brash, so he was just saying, oh yeah, like Trump Tower was being spied on. Like, he didn't really articulate, like what exactly was going on. And I mean, he's great with Twitter, but I don't really think he's like technically like tech savvy. So he probably didn't exactly know what was going on when he was being spied on, but he knew enough to say to the press, like, yeah, Trump Tower was being spied on. And people laughed about that. And it's like, before we knew about whether that was true or not, I was like, why are they laughing? Like, that's seriously like a very likely situation that happened, I mean, the technology is so easy. It's so easy to spy on people that, and that, someone like Obama, we've had this conversation before, like, I voted for Obama and he was just given carte blanche. Like, he could do anything he wanted and the mainstream was never going to question him. So of course the administration's going to start spying on potential candidates. Why wouldn't you if you have the tech?
Yeah, I found it kind of interesting too that they would argue like, yeah, but the Obama administration or the government residing under Obama administration would never do anything that nefarious, but if you look back, I mean, Eric Snowden released documents that show just the opposite. And not only that too, I mean, we have people like Eric Holder, who was Obama's attorney general, lying under oath to Congress. We have James Clapper lying under oath to Congress. I mean, there are some people in Trump's cabinet that I think are, I guess, bad people, for lack of a better phrase. But people like to make it seem like Obama's cabinet and his associates were angels, and who Trump works for him are nothing but just bad people that want to destroy the nation.
I guess it's just, you know, absolute power corrupts absolutely, you know. I mean.
All right. What else do you have for us, Holly?
All right. I've got another article from Zero Hedge Piper. This is Putin orders end U.S. dollar trade at Russian seaports. So the Russian antitrust watchdog FAS Igor Artemyev, many services in Russian seaports are still priced in U.S. dollars, even though such ports are state-owned. So, quote, in order to protect the interests of dock workers and their employees with foreign currency obligations, the government has instructed to set a transition period before switching to the ruble. So this is part of a larger trend with Venezuela and Russia and China all trying to switch off of the US dollar and towards their own currency, so either the ruble or backing. In the case of Venezuela, they want to start backing their crude oil with the yuan instead. So there's also been talks about the Jacob Rothschild recently dumped a ton of U.S. stocks and U.S. dollars. So and Soros is betting against the U.S. dollar right now. So I think they're kind of the writing's on the wall. I don't know what to say exactly, but Russia is getting bold, and they're making it clear that they want to switch away from the U.S. dollar.
You know, that's why, in terms of economics, why fiat currency is so dangerous. Like, there's nothing that backs our value of our dollar. Our dollar is backed by the credit of the U.S., and all that means that the U.S. guarantees that our dollar is good. Well, as soon as nations start abdicating away from the dollar, like Venezuela's doing, like China's doing by backing their petrodollar in gold, the more the credit of the U.S. will sink. And if the credit of the U.S. sinks, that means the dollar becomes worthless. And then all of the assets, billions of dollars of assets that people have overseas are not going to be worth anything. So it's going to completely dump it. And the U.S. will be stranded alone with money now that's completely worthless. And the Federal Reserve is going to try to then print our way out of debt, do quantitative easing and all that stuff. And it's not going to work because nobody wants to buy the dollar anymore. And this kind of goes now. I know I did a video on this, and I watched your video on this as well. It's funny that whenever a country tries to get rid of the U.S. dollar or some form of U.S. resources, the U.S. then all of a sudden invades them. And as we heard from the UN speech of Trump's, it sounded like we actually might be invading Venezuela now. And it kind of coincides with Venezuela dropping the dollar.
Yeah, I heard something about how there were the Navy had sent out ships to try to oversee Puerto Rico and everything that was going on after the hurricanes. But now people are saying that those boats have kind of moved down to Venezuela for some reason. So that there's rumors about us already having boats parked over there. And I think it's great. You did an excellent video about history of United States overthrowing governments that were trying to switch to gold. And, obviously just recently talking about Libya, all of that gold that disappeared, talking about getting off the US dollar. There was talks about Saddam Hussein trying to back Iraqi oil with something else besides the US dollar and OPEC, and that was forbidden. So I don't know how much longer we can continue this sort of battle where we want to, basically muscle our way without the dollar at all, at this point. I don't know.
And I think a lot of that then could also be why nations like Russia and China and Venezuela are actually moving away from the dollar, because they might actually see now what the U.S. is doing. The U.S. using their force to make sure the dollar is the most common currency exchange, the medium for exchange in the world. Because as long as the US dollar is at the forefront of all international trade and business, the US has essentially absolute power. They have absolute power. And once we actually lose that, once we lose the medium exchange of currency, our dollar is worthless, and all our assets that are backed by that dollar is also worthless then. And in essence, the country becomes worthless. It's like chain reaction that devolves down into something that we would have hard time getting out of. It'd be like the Great Depression on steroids if our dollar did collapse on us and nobody would want to buy any of our assets anymore due to our dollar collapsing.
Yeah, those are great points, Piper. I know you mentioned something earlier before we went live about the earthquakes. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I don't really know a whole lot of what's been going on.
You know, I confess, I really don't either. All I saw on the TV that so far 230 people were killed in Mexico on an earthquake. And it looked like someone in the chat, Lee in the chat, asks, do you think these natural disasters are natural, of HAARP? I confess, I do not know what that acronym stands for. That may make me look bad, but what does HAARP stand for?
HAARP,
what is it?
High Frequency Oral Research Project. I think, correct me if I'm wrong. But so she's basically asking, HAARP is like a ionosphere manipulation. So she's asking if we think this is natural disaster or if we think some of this is man-made.
You know, I don't know. I guess in my mind, this kind of goes to the whole climate change issue. I mean, I do believe in climate change, but the thing is, it's been happening for millions of years. It's happening long before we got here, and it'll happen long after we get here. The question isn't whether climate change is real or fake. It's how much of an impact does the American people in general have on the climate. And you know, you could argue like, well, not enough or a little, you know, too much. But if you argue too much, the question becomes, why are all these celebrities preaching about climate change being so bad? And then all of a sudden they take their private jets overseas. I mean, their carbon footprint is through the roof. So I think like I'm kind of going on a little off topic tangent here, but for like the Paris Accord, for instance, instead of focusing on poorer nations and trying to build them up and focus them on green energy, we should start with the rich people, the rich fat cats who has the higher footprints. They should lead by example before we start from the bottom. We start from the top down rather than the bottom up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when people say, oh, you know, we talk about, we're having like two different conversations when we talk about is climate change man-made? So, you know, it used to be global cooling, and then it was global warming, and now it's just straight up climate change. And I think there's several issues. So first of all, since the Industrial Revolution, yes, we have impacted our climate. And I talk about through pollution, like we've polluted our water, our air, particulate matter, pollution, lead, you know, a lot of the times it's heavy metals. And yes, you know, we used to talk about back in the 70s getting lead out of our oil, the gasoline, because people were suffering brain damage. Like there's plenty of science to sort of back up that pollution makes people sick, gives people cancer. So if you're talking about climate manipulation or human manipulation of the weather, yes, pollution has most definitely done that. Like if you go to the city.
Uh-oh. All right, one sec, everyone. It's just me now. Looks like we lost Holly. I'm going to re-invite her. Stand by. All right, I sent her the link again on Twitter here. So, yeah, now 6 of us. Holly should be back soon here. You guys have any questions? Hopefully her computer didn't shit out on her. Let me text her too here. Google messing with you, yes. We were actually talking about that earlier regarding Google, them hiring a bunch of new people. It's like, so these new people they hire, are they going to basically police them and police what they want to report on like they do with everyone else? I mean, my channel, my most popular video, my Annika Sperm video has over 130,000 views, and it finally got demonetized. And once you get demonetized once, it's going to keep happening and happening and happening. Is Holly still getting threats if she speaks? I do not know. I'll be honest. Man, I know she mentioned a couple times. I don't talk to her as much as I used to, be honest. I mean, I do have her phone number. We do chit chat, but we want to start doing more of these because we do have two different perspectives here. I'm kind of a classical liberal, libertarian, even conservative. She's more green, kind of left leaning. So I think it is nice to actually have someone like Holly and myself be able to sit down and discuss and even debate on certain topics without tearing each other's throats. So let me see if I can get a hold of her. Oh, she's back.
Oh, man.
And her microphone is muted.
Can you hear me now?
I didn't. Don't worry. I kept everyone entertained. I did a little jig and dance for them.
I can't believe I was just talking for so long.
What happened?
I don't know. Said I got kicked off.
Leah said it's Google trying to mess with us, trying to stop our conversation. So I would concur with that.
I can't even believe that happened. I had someone at my house today. They just fixed my internet. I got a brand new cable. That makes me upset.
I kind of forgot what we were talking about, to be honest.
We were just talking about the weather.
Oh, I guess, yeah, back to Leah's question. So do you think HARP, do you think...
Do you remember where I left off? Does anyone remember where I left off?
I wonder, I don't know, like, I guess these hurricanes, I know after Hurricane Harvey came, people were saying that it was humans caused it. I don't know how I believe in that at all. I don't know. Bullshit, man. Looks like he's writing where you left off here. So I let you read that and have at it. Or maybe not.
I was just talking about carbon credits. I don't like carbon credits. And, and when she talked about weather manipulation, like Harvard recently came out, said that they were going to get involved with cloud seeding. And there's something called Operation or Project Popeye that was used during Vietnam to cloud seed and cause rain in Southeast Asia. And in Vietnam, it was experimented on by the U.S. Army to try to cause rain, to try to rain out the Chinese shipments of armaments, to try to they were trying to help out the Vietnamese against us. So there was talks about, it's called Project Popeye or Operation Popeye, if you want to look that up, whether or not we can use HARP technology to manipulate the ionosphere and cause earthquakes. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. So.
You know, it's funny. That is the exact plot in the Tom Clancy book, A Rainbow Six. It's kind of crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Tom Clancy is awesome.
Oh, he's awesome. Yeah, he was. He's dead now. But, you know, one thing I kind of want to say about this, too, which is it's kind of ironic and it's also kind of disheartening, too, is that, you know, the poor nations like Africa, many people want them to become more industrialized and to grow and things of that nature. Oh, my little kitty came out of my bedroom finally. Oh, he ran back in. Anyways, they want them to industrialize and things of that nature. But the more that these poor nations advance up in technology, the higher the carbon footprint of them is going to be. And in essence, those who believe that men have a drastic impact on climate change, it kind of contradicts each other. I mean, if you know, those who believe climate change is affected like by a lot by men, and at the same time they want to bring up these poor nations and kind of industrialize them, they're kind of contradicting each other, because even if you try to go all green in these poor nations, you're still going to need to do oil and things of that nature to get them necessary funds and resources so they can actually deviate to green energy. So I don't know, it's kind of just an offhand comment that I find kind of interesting that many people don't really think of.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and you know, these are the same people who also talk about population control.
All right, let's see what I got here. We talked about Venezuela a little bit. Lawrence O'Donnell. There's a new, apparently, I saw this. John Kasich was on MSNBC, and he was talking about another Obamacare repeal bill coming. And essentially, what I heard what this is basically it would go to the states. The states would have control on whether or not they want to keep Obamacare or repeal it. What are your thoughts on that?
So we have something called Main Care, which we've had for a while, and it's basically only available to the super poor, but you don't have to like pay like Obamacare if you pay a tax or whatever if you can't afford. So I have friends who are supposed to have Obamacare, but they can't afford the payments, so they just pay like the fee or the fine or whatever. And I think that's terrible, because it's like you're not getting good health care and you're paying a fine at the end of the year. It's ridiculous. So I've never liked Obamacare. You know, people can argue with me about that. I think it's a terrible idea. It's basically just, it was designed by the insurance companies.
You know, what's really to add on that too is that I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, they always say, like, since Obamacare, 20 million more people now have health insurance. Well, the thing is, and I'm going to use me as an example because this has actually happened to me. Many of those are younger people that had no choice but to get health insurance. And right now, I have Obamacare. I have a type of Obamacare, and my deductible is $7,500, meaning that if I injure myself and I go to the ER, I have to pay the first $7,500. So in essence, I lost health care because of Obamacare. Even though I'm technically insured, I'm really not insured due to the high premiums and deductibles. So when they say 20 million more people have health insurance, blah, 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 yeah, but they're forgetting about the millions of people now that have health insurance, but it's just unaffordable for them, so they don't even use it anyways.
That is so crazy. $7,500?
Yeah. So basically, if I get like in a car accident, if like I'm never going to the ER unless like my kidney bursts or something, I have no choice.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But the good thing is this new job here, I will have health insurance coming October. So
yeah.
But I will say that my opinion on that, I mean, I do believe in states' rights. So I would like to see that. But the thing is, I don't think really states can adequately utilize Obamacare, or actually try to implement Obamacare and be able to afford it. California tried it, but they found out that doing not Obamacare, I guess, but just universal health care in general, they would have actually bankrupt their budget. They wouldn't have could be able to afford it, so they didn't do it. So I really think that something like universal health care or Obamacare would have to be at the federal level in order for it to actually run in a sufficient manner, or even just a basic, modest manner. So I don't think states' rights would be good, but I think the states would figure out relatively quickly that Obamacare in their state alone, they're not going to be able to sustain it properly.
I'm just not a big fan of it. I hope, I don't know. I kind of think they should repeal it and put in something better, because, it was just like, I think it was an overreach of presidential powers. Just.
All right. Next topic, Holly. Let us know what's up.
All right. I got something interesting for you. I haven't heard anyone report on this yet. So I'm part of a couple of like reenactment groups, like Facebook page groups. So I've done like museum work and been like a museum interpreter or a museum tour guide. It's a job I like to have. And so I joined some like reenactment groups, and I guess reenactments, specifically right now, Civil War reenactments are getting shut down over fears of safety from protesters. So this is according to a local news, heraldonline.com. Brattonville, an annual Civil War skirmish presented for about 3 decades at York County's historic Brattonville, has been canceled because of concerns about safety and potential protests. Officials with the Culture and Heritage Museums, which oversees historic Brattonville and the Museum of York County, discussed their concern about if something did happen, if protests over Confederate monuments and symbols. The event features a skirmish between Confederate and Union troops. However, the event is not an actual reenactment of the York battle because no Civil War battles took place in Brattonville, but they still do they try to reenact one of the battles from the Civil War. So they've decided to cancel because they're afraid of Antifa showing up and getting involved. And like they have like muskets. They don't actually like shoot bullets and stuff, but they do have artillery. They do have like a cannon that they like to shoot off. And they have canceled it after about 30 years of doing this. Yeah, and they're concerned that it's going to be really bad for the museum because this is how they draw their crowds.
I think a manifestation that we see of these protests are all due to microaggressions, that people cannot even attempt to hear an opinion that contradicts their own. I mean, the idea of America, America's found the idea of free enterprise, not only in business, but basically you're able to express yourself, and trying to shut yourself into your own little shell, your own little safe space, so you can block out the evil diatribe and rhetoric being thrown at you is just nonsensical. The best way to actually understand what's happening in the world, the best way to actually learn to accrete, to congregate with each other, to unify, is to be able to actually have a conversation with someone you disagree with. And now we have these professors basically preaching that if someone disagrees with you, if someone says something that you do not like, you don't have to listen to them. You shouldn't listen to them. You should actually go hide away. And I think that's the dumbest thing ever. You should be willing to listen to viewpoints that differ from your own. You should be able to engage in a conversation, or else you're only going to increase the political polarization that is already rampant in the country today.
And it's not like these people are like, pro-slavery or something. Like, it's the Union wins, you know what I mean? Like, they're doing a reenactment. Like, they talk about how the people are portraying like actual people, like as characters and stuff like this. And so it's not like people are going out there as like a political thing. Like, specifically, if you're like these people who are reenactors, like they're really about historical accuracy. So it's not like the Confederacy is going to win this or anything like that. Yeah. Like, the Union wins, like, big surprise, guys. Like, and so I think a lot of this has to do with the overall erasure of history. Like, as someone that loves history and loves old stuff, like, it's just sad to see where it's like, technically everything in human history is offensive. Like, yeah, that's the human condition. We're built upon a lot of really shitty things in our past, but just erasing it and taking it away isn't going to change any of that. It's going to make people ignorant to the fact that this is what humans do.
And I'll say this too. Like, I shouldn't say I understand it. I guess I can. I understand that people may get upset over like Confederate statues being in public areas in the southern states. I mean, Confederacy, they did believe in slavery and things of that nature. However, what they try to do is they try to transverse that mentality of, okay, this Confederate statues must go to founding fathers must go. I mean, yes, it's okay to protest what you don't like, but tearing down statues of Thomas Jefferson because you think he's a racist, George Washington, even Abe Lincoln, people were torching the statue of Abe Lincoln. I mean, this is the man that freed the slaves. This is the man that, you know, is basically looked upon as a hero to the Union, preserved the Union, you know, made Emancipation Proclamation. And we have news organizations like Vice News saying we should blow out Mount Rushmore because of racism. It's like, why have we devolved so much as a country, and where are we going? And this kind of comes back to my whole safe space, and it's only going to get worse unless people actually talk about these things. But if you like what I just said right now, if I tried saying it to somebody who's, you know, hardcore regressive at a campus, they're going to call me a racist. They're going to go walk away and hide. Like, they don't even want to engage with me at all. And I think that is the biggest detriment to America, is not being able to listen and talk to each other.
Well, I think even the fact that, you know, I'm, as someone, like, I grew up, like, in the town over from me, they did do Civil War reenactments in the summer, and they'd shoot off cannons, and, like, you could hear it from miles away, and it was really cool. And a lot of those people were extras in some, like, Civil War movies, like Glory and stuff like that. And, like, Glory was all about, like, African Americans serving the Union and freeing the slaves. And so it's just, it seems crazy to me now that I'm, like, concerned that I'm going to be called a racist if I want to do reenactment stuff, or if anyone wants to now, because it's, you know, it could be offensive now. And this is American history. So, and like you said about people defacing Abraham Lincoln, like, they obviously are really super ignorant at that point. I mean, that people like that deserve no respect if you're going to do something stupid like that.
You know, and a lot of that, too, comes down to what the media is preaching. It's like that we were talking about earlier with the Emmy Awards. I forgot this guy's name, but what he said, you know, about blacks being the most oppressed race now. It's like people live in this echo chamber that the founding fathers were racist. One person says it, the media says it, they have people like Reverend Jackson saying it, and all of a sudden it spreads like wildfire, and everyone believes on it. Nobody wants to actually do their own research or actually sit and think it through. They hear something that their political affiliation tells them must be correct, and they run with it. Nobody wants to question things anymore. And Leah just asked, did you guys see Pelosi being verbally drowned out on her own illegal base when she wanted to talk about DACA? I did not, but I did hear about it, and I heard it was pretty brutal. Did you see that, Holly?
No, I saw, like, some pictures of it and stuff, but I mean, I can't stand Nancy Pelosi. Like, even back when I was, like, a Democrat, like, I thought she was a moron. So, you know, it's like,
I always say she should be in a psych ward. I've been saying that for years now, and I feel bad because I don't want to be insulting. You know, I don't want to insult people that are actually in psych wards, because they're a lot better. They're a lot better than Nancy Pelosi, but yeah, she's insane.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess it's kind of funny because it's like, well, the thing that makes me upset about Democrats too is, like, they use people of color, and they'll use stuff like DACA, like, to their political advantage to get people to vote. But then once it actually comes down to, like, having, like, DACA people in front of her, like, she wants nothing to do with it, you know? So it's only useful when it's politically advantageous. And, you know, I've heard the argument that DACA should have gone through the House and the Senate. Like, it shouldn't have been put together by Obama. Like, this was bound to come up at some point, you know, just a president enacting this sort of stuff. He would have done better just to do what Reagan did, you know, instead of creating this weird sort of limbo for people.
And that, too, I guess the common contention is that what Obama did regarding DACA was unconstitutional. And I do like, now, Trump's idea to give it back to Congress for 6 months. I actually do like that, because Congress needs to put their money where their mouth is. They always say, well, you know, give us more time, we're going to do this. Well, if Obama gave us the option for DACA, we would, you know, do this and that. Well, Trump threw it back at them now and said, all right, you guys got 6 months, do something with it, either, you know, approve it, repeal it, whatever, or I'm going to do it. And I hope, though, in 6 months, if Congress doesn't do anything about it, I hope personally that Trump actually gets rid of DACA. I know a lot of people are going to like, oh, you're a racist, you hate Mexico, blah, blah, blah. No, it ain't about that. It's just we are a country of laws and we have to follow the law. It's not fair for people that have to wait in line for years to become a legal immigrant. I mean, why do that when you can just come over here legally, be quiet, and all of a sudden for a couple years and then apply for DACA status and then you're a citizen. It's not fair to those who are trying to follow the law by allowing people who are breaking the law to supersede them.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, I didn't really pay attention to DACA at the time when Obama was doing this, because he really was just like doing so much as president, like creating all this stuff without the approval of Congress. And it was just one more thing that he was just doing at the time.
All right, Holly, talk to our guest for a little bit. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. He might be checking on his kittens. We'll see. So we got Leah, we got Janice, we got DL Freighter Watcher. I remember you from my channel. We got 8 people watching. Oh my goodness. It's cool. There was Bullshit Man here earlier. He does a good job promoting my stuff, so thanks. Marriage Productions. I've seen you with Piper before.
Ow. All right, this is the kitty cat.
Oh.
He's mad at me though.
Oh.
All right. I heard a meowing. I had to go check on him.
Oh.
All right. Sorry I left. He was kind of annoying a lot, so.
Does he have a name?
No, not yet.
What?
I know.
You don't want to get too attached?
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Continue as we were.
Oh. Watcher. Oh, hi, Watcher. Okay. Watcher. It's so hard. Like, I'm trying to figure out everyone. It's hard. I'm bad with names, and then I'm also trying to, like, memorize people's, like, little photos and names.
That's how I'm in real life. I feel bad. Like, I'll just meet someone, and, like, 20 minutes later, I forget his name already. Like, hey, man.
What's up, dude? So, let me see what else we have here.
Oh, I think he's coughing up a hairball.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, you hear that?
Ooh.
Poor kitty.
You want to talk about, let's see, we already talked about the wiretap. Let me see.
We got the CIA, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh, yeah. All right. I wasn't sure if that was too far out. All right, let's go for it. So this is according to blacklistednews.com. I'll include this article for everyone in the chat. So there's supposed to be documents coming out on October 26th about Lee Harvey Oswald and the CIA about the JFK assassination. So all available documents from all government entities are required by the Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992 that was signed, I think it was signed under Bill Clinton, to be released on October 26 of 2017. But if history repeats itself, the CIA may not release an entire volume of documents on Oswald, known as Volume 5. The release in July of 3,810 CIA and FBI documents on the assassination by the Assassination Records Review Board threw up a number of revelations that JFK research have devoured and publicized. For instance, the mayor of Dallas at the time of the Kennedy assassination, Earl Kebbell, was a CIA asset back in the 1950s. And his brother, Charles Cable, was a high-ranking CIA official up until 1962. So they've slowly been releasing records so far. They're supposed to give out the final papers on October 26th, but now they're saying that they cannot find the records on Oswald. So I'll include this article for everyone. You guys can take a look at this.
You know, it kind of reminds me of the JFK movie by Oliver Stone, and the actor, the main guy, the lawyer, Garrison's played by Kevin Costner. And in the end, he's talking about JFK assassination. He says that I won't be around to see it, but I am telling my kids to be very, very healthy. So when the time comes, he's referring to October 26th there, when the time comes for those documents to be released, that the truth will finally get out and my kids will be able to see it. And now it's kind of funny hearing what you just said. It seems like that's not going to happen. And I think for the most part, I think most people would agree with me. I mean, would agree in general that the JFK assassination wasn't just cut and dry. It wasn't just like Lee Harvey Oswald. I mean, whether it was the government involved or the Russians, Cubans, whatever, there definitely was someone on the grassy knoll. There definitely was a conspiracy by definition. Whether, government or whomever it was, that's open for debate, but it wasn't just Lee Harvey Oswald, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's, and that's just like it seems to me that would kind of be like a common sense sort of like approach to the whole thing, because otherwise you're believing the magic bullet theory.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like we've had, like, how long has it been, since JFK was assassinated? And I think the fear is that it's like if one thing gets admitted, then other conspiracies would have to be admitted. And furthermore, yeah, exactly.
That's exactly right. That's 100% correct. You nailed it. You hit the nail on the head there. Exactly. Because if they say the government was involved in the murder of JFK and that comes out, it'll open the door for every single thing. I mean, it would be even things that are cut and dry that America did that wasn't a conspiracy, people would question it. So I can see at some standpoint if that would come out, how that could be bad. But at the same time, I believe in transparency. I believe that the government is actually owned by the people, and we should have that right to see what our elected leaders, what our government officials are doing. But no, you nailed the head. That's exactly correct. And I think it also would it would confirm that the notion that the American government doesn't do anything nefarious. I think that would definitely contradict that notion, and people would wake up and people would actually demand more transparency. And I can't see the federal government, the deep state, trying to follow that logic. They will not acquiesce to that at all.
I think one other thing is too that it keeps getting pushed off, oh, well, we'll release more in 10 years or we'll release more in 20 years. Well, I think the thing is that they're waiting for everyone to be dead before they can release anything, because then justice cannot be served. I mean, well, let's just say, hypothetically, if George Bush was working for the CIA at the time and he was somehow involved in the assassination of Kennedy as head of the CIA, he's still alive. He's like 1,000 years old right now, but they could, technically, if it was found out that he was involved, he could get in trouble. Some people might actually want him to serve some time in jail at this point still. So I think they're just waiting for everyone to be dead.
Yeah. I can't remember the specifics, but I did the video a little while back, and it has something to do with, I think, Hillary Clinton's emails and Obama. Someone did a FOIA request to, I think, for the communications between Obama and Hillary about her emails or something. Again, don't quote me on this. It's like this, but anyways, Obama is moving the files to his personal library that he is instituting. And by doing that, he can actually refrain from handing over those documents for, I think, up to 5 years or something like that. And I'll have to look up exactly what the documents are, but it's something I know that ties Obama to Hillary. And I think it just kind of shows how the process can be changed and just, fixed to what people want to save them, to save face for them.
Cool. Well, I got one more article for us tonight.
Okay.
I know a couple of our people are going to bed. It's past everyone's bedtime here.
Yep. That works for me. We'll finish it up here.
Okay, so and sorry once again, guys, for people. It took me like a half hour to join up. Still trying to figure out all my plugins and stuff on my computer. So my sincerest apologies. So I have a final article. I've reported a tiny bit about this, but this is in Houston. The Houston mayor last week was telling people that the Red Cross needs to start giving people money. So the Red Cross has taken in like millions of dollars for the Houston Harvey victims, and every single household in Houston that lost their home was guaranteed a whopping $400 from the Red Cross to help them, and people haven't been getting that money. So the mayor called them out and said, look, if you're not going to give out the money, don't say you're going to give out the money and stop fundraising. So this just came out. Houston City Councilman begs people not to donate to the Red Cross. So Dave Martin also commented, there's a group called San Antonio for Help with Harvey. He says local groups are doing a much better job and they're actually out there helping people, whereas the Red Cross has just been taking money. And he said it's similar to the response that happened in New Orleans, where there's been zero response. And this is what, according to Martin, this is what he said. My last rant will be on the Red Cross. I'm sorry about the Red Cross, because the Red Cross, if anybody wants to donate to the Red Cross, please call me. I beg you not to send them a penny. They're the most inept, unorganized organization I've ever experienced. I've been in Kingwood fighting this thing, and we have not seen not one person from the Red Cross. Yet every time I turn on the TV, they're receiving hundreds of millions of dollars. What are you guys doing with this money? How many contractors are you helping with us? No one. So to this day, many days after the hurricane hit, I've not seen a single person in Kingwood or Clear Lake that's a representative of the Red Cross. You know who opened our shelters? We did. You know who sent water and supplies? We did. We didn't have the cots. We had blankets. We didn't get anything from the Red Cross. So if anyone wants to send them money, don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. So I think that's pretty clear about what's going on with the Red Cross right now.
I think too that is probably the, I guess, worst kind of offense to do to somebody. I mean, Harvey, people that suffer from these natural disasters, think about it. Like right now, I live in an apartment. I don't know if you have a house or apartment, but these people are abandoned. They lose their home, they lose their possessions, everything. And we have organizations that are supposed to be helping these people who are suffering immensely, basically taking their money from them. I mean, people like this or organizations like this should be prosecuted, because there's nothing to justify them doing that at all. That is morally wrong in so many levels.
It's just the worst of the worst, like you said, like taking like the people who donate to the Red Cross, like they're usually not really rich people either. They're like people, working class people who are like, I don't have much, but I can give $100, and hopefully that'll help someone else out. Well, it's just going to line the pockets of the Red Cross. And this reminds me a lot of what happened with Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans with the Red Cross. I had friends who drove down there on their own accord and said that FEMA and the Red Cross stood around while local people and random people who drove down risked their lives to literally save people from drowning and shit like that. And the Red Cross, they were just there hanging out, or they weren't even there. And this also reminds me of what happened with the Clinton Foundation and what happened in Haiti. Exactly. Red Cross and the Clinton Foundation, these big mega organizations taking in literally billions of dollars was taken in for all of these storms. And, they pocketed it.
I did a video a little while ago on Linda Sauer. She's this like Muslim activist. And in it, she was using Hurricane Harvey to get donations to send to a foundation. Well, the foundation was actually instituted by George Soros. It was founded by George Soros, and she got torn apart on social media because of it. And serves her right. I mean, that the woman is just nuts. But again, it comes back to my morally, you know, acceptable, like taking money, stealing money from people who are in desperate need of it is as low as you can go.
I had not heard about that, Linda. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I'll send you the link in a video here.
I do know that, you know, I haven't seen any of it on TV, but I guess like a bunch of celebrities did like the old call-in type shows for like the Harvey victims and stuff too.
I guess, yeah, I don't know that, but all right, I think that's a good way to end it. This is definitely fun. We'll have to do this again, maybe even next week if you want.
Yeah, totally. I'm glad you're set up and you got things going, and I'm more set up now too. So.
I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. Congrats on the 5,000 subs. That's a good achievement.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty psyched about that. I know a lot of people get kicked off. I don't know. It's like I feel like once you get up to 5, or they start to kick people off your channel. I'm sure it's gonna happen to you once you get up there too. Like, it's crazy what they're doing with censorship.
It happens to everyone except the Young Turks. They get everything they want.
Yeah, so true. All right, thanks, Piper.
Yep, with that, we will end it. Goodbye, everyone.